Hey, good afternoon, guys. I believe it's afternoon. I don't even have my watch on. So I want to welcome you guys to my page. I do videos every once in a while. Most of the time, whenever I'm taking a break to put on makeup, I'll just do a video. And today I felt like I needed to talk about discouragement, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people are doing or going through right now. And so I'm going to be talking about that a little bit. I'm going to just share this real quick if I can. Hold on just a second. And as you guys come on, if you will just let me know where you're joining from. Hey, Tara. Just let me know where you're joining from. And, hey, Brittany. So, I wanted to see if I could do this. Hold on. Well, we will get this done eventually, guys. I just want to send a few invitations out, invite some people to be watching with us. Alright, and now, alright, here we go. Hey, Chris. Hey, Jerry. Okay, so put me some hearts in there if you guys have been going through any discouragement lately, because I think the busier you get sometimes, the more discouraged you get. Hey, Dave. So today I'm just going to be talking while we do this. I'm going to use my detail hack, but first I need to use my setting spray. Hey, Miss Diane. So I've been talking with a couple of girls, and I just feel like we've had such, hey Jennifer, I feel like we've had such an issue lately in the church, in the business world, and whenever we're having to deal with stuff about our health. It's just so easy to get discouraged. And as I was getting ready and just thinking on this and praying about some things, I felt like the Lord just kind of dropped in my spirit a couple of things about it I wanted to share. Hey, Adriana. Hey, darling. I'm just going to get ready while we do this. We have a lot going on today, as usual. I mean, it's not as busy as some days, though. Some days I could just about pull my hair up. But today's not one of those days. So here's the deal. It's like I was saying, it's super easy to get discouraged. And I'll be flat out honest. Hey, Miss Cindy. Painting furniture, Chris. I'm kind of jealous because I like seeing people do that. Like using chalk paint and stuff. Yeah, my war paint's a little bit, I would say it's a little more fun than I'm putting on my face. But I do like to watch people do that and see the transformations. So it's super easy for people to get discouraged, I feel like. I think, you know, and most of you guys that have been around me for any length of time know that one of the things that I've battled, obviously, in my life has been my health and my weight. Hey, Richard. And that's really easy for people to get discouraged about. If you're a business owner, it's easy to get discouraged that things aren't going the way you feel like they should, or that your numbers aren't performing like you want them to, or sales aren't going the way you want them to, or any number of things, especially if you're a business owner with employees. Whole nother realm of discouragement and worries and stress that you have to deal with. And then there's discouragement in your faith and your family. Sometimes you're praying about things that just, they're not. Hey, Erica. You've prayed about things, and some of us have prayed for things for years and years, and nothing happens. But we all deal with discouragement, I feel like. And I feel like sometimes, I'm just going to say, I learned a long time ago how to deal with discouragement for myself. And yeah, that doesn't mean I have perfect days. Hey, Patricia, it doesn't mean I have perfect days, but it does mean that I've come a long way from understanding that it's a tool that the enemy uses. Hey, Holly. Discouragement, I feel like, is a tool that the enemy uses to paralyze us, to make us ineffective, and that's something that none of us can really afford, especially if we're mothers. Hello, we cannot afford to be losing time with our kids. If you're a business owner, you cannot afford to spend days and days and weeks at a time in the doldrums because you're discouraged. If you are a minister, you definitely can't afford to spend time discouraged, because as you've heard my pastor, my husband, say, and we got this from Bible college, delay in the body of Christ brings irreparable loss. So you can't afford to have that discouragement take you out. Right? I see some hearts there. That's right. We don't have time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? So I just wanted to talk to you guys about that discouragement and what I feel like the Lord's just kind of dropped in my spirit. Like I said, I learned a long time ago certain ways for me to cope, certain ways for me to just get over things. And so I have to remind myself, hey, Tony, I have to remind myself that not everybody has walked the path I have, because I'll be honest, there are sometimes when somebody will talk to me or, and I'm just going to show my humanity right now, guys, but I'll be talking with a friend or whatever, and they'll be like, nothing's going right, and I've done everything I know to do, and this person did that to me, and blah blah blah, and then they're just so discouraged. It's like they're sapping the energy right out of you because of their discouragement. And it doesn't mean that you can't have bad days. You can totally have bad days. We're human. We're going to do that. But honestly, when that goes on and on and on, there's a part of me that's like, oh my gosh, suck it up, But I can't do that. For one thing, I've been there, and that's not usually what helps people, is to tell them to suck it up, right? Can I get some hearts or some laughing faces there? You can't just go rocking around telling people to suck it up. But what you can do is share this little bit that I feel like the Lord's given me. And that is, we have to realize where discouragement comes from. Like I mentioned, I believe it's a tool that is used to have people, to kind of paralyze them, to keep them from doing what God has called them to do. Whether it be actually ministering to children, whether it be, sometimes just ministering to our husband and our children at home. Maybe it's your business that you're discouraged about, or your relationships at work. Yeah, we all really want to say that sometimes. But we don't, because, we have Jesus in us. Right? So, here's the thing. We know that it's a tool. Hey, Miss Debbie. We know that this is a tool that the enemy uses to help us to be ineffective Christians, because you have heard my pastor say the one thing that the enemy wants more than anything is ineffective Christians, right? Because if we're not building up the kingdom, what good are we? Well, that is what I'm here to tell you about. So we know that that is straight from the enemy, this discouragement. Hey, PJ. The discouragement is straight from the enemy. We know where that comes from. And here's what happens. I believe why it happens to us is because, hey, Leanne, we, let me take a sip of drink because I've been talking a lot. We allow ourselves to get put in this box of discouragement. And that sounds strong, but I believe that's what happens. Where is my blush brush, y'all? It sounds strong that we allow ourselves to get put in there, but I believe that's what happens. Because here's one of the first things that causes our discouragement. And you guys may have heard me talk about this before, but I believe this with every fiber of my being. And that is comparison to others. When we allow ourselves to compare where we are right now with where somebody else is, when we start seeing what she's doing over there with her family, and right, Jerry, that's the quote. The one thing the enemy wants is sinners and ineffective Christians, because neither are a threat to his kingdom. And so that's why we have to guard ourselves against discouragement, because I believe that discouragement is the way the devil makes us ineffective, right? So we can't allow ourselves to get caught in the trap of comparison, because that's what puts, I believe, most women especially will allow themselves to compare. I'm actually using 2 blush colors in case any of you girls are wondering. I believe that the trap of comparison is what the enemy uses, especially for women, because we will compare the way our body looks, we'll compare our paychecks, we will compare how our business is going, we'll compare what their family does versus ours, we'll compare what our church looks like versus theirs. I mean, there is so much that we are just conditioned to compare in each other, and y'all, that's of the devil. I'm just saying, we don't have time to worry about all that. Amen? I'm like preaching to y'all. I just feel a little passionate about this, because when we allow ourselves to start comparing so much else or so many other people to ourselves, then it distracts us from what we should be doing, right? When you know that you're supposed to be doing, let's take for example my health and my weight. I know what I'm supposed to be doing to get my weight down. I know what I'm supposed to be doing to keep my joints from hurting so much. I know what I'm supposed to be doing so that I don't have those headaches that I have. And here's the thing, if I'm comparing the fact that so-and-so over there has lost 30 pounds in 2 months, and here I am trudging along happy about my 10 pounds, I'm so busy comparing myself to her that I'm not paying attention to what my body needs and what my spirit craves. You know, I'm so distracted by that comparison that I'm of no good to myself or my family. So, number one, don't compare yourself to others. This is how you get out of your discouragement. And in my mascara world, we say don't compare your month 1 to somebody's year 1, okay? Sometimes you have to take baby steps. Sometimes you have to just get to the point that you're like, okay, her business looks like that, but this is going to be my business, and I'm going to rock my business right where it's at. And the same way with my health. She's lost 30 pounds, but you know what? I've lost 10, and I'm proud of that 10. So, you know, you just have to do that. Now, the second thing, I've got to hurry with my makeup because I get so distracted talking about this. And I actually took notes about this because I believe so strongly on this. So, the second thing that could cause your discouragement, of course, you have the comparison to others, which we all do so well, but we're not going to do that anymore, right? Put some of those hands up emojis if you agree you're not going to fall into that comparison trap anymore. So, the second thing that could cause your discouragement, and y'all aren't going to like what I'm going to say, but this is the truth. The thing that could cause your discouragement is the fact that you are not doing what you know to do. You see, because when you're not doing what you know to do, such as me not doing my makeup while I'm talking to you, I'm getting distracted by the talking. When you're not doing what you already know to do, then you're going to start feeling guilty because you're not, for example, let's use my weight for an example. If I'm not eating right and I'm drinking 1,000 Mountain Dews, or even one, honestly, because of the way my body works. If I'm drinking Mountain Dews and not watching the sugar and stuff like that, then what winds up happening is I start feeling guilty because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, right? And because of that guilt, I become discouraged. Well, I'm never going to be this skinny person, and I'm never going to be fit. Hey, Shannon. And you feel guilty. So you start getting discouraged, right? Well, that discouragement, because we're not doing anything to get out of that guilt feeling, the depression and discouragement that we're going through. Well, what we're doing is we wind up allowing ourselves to be paralyzed to an extent, because we're just living in our own, wallowing in our own mess and all that. And you know what? I've done it a million times. But whenever you start feeling guilty because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, it leads to discouragement. Discouragement leads to paralysis. Paralysis leads to more discouragement, which leads to more guilt, because it's just this vicious cycle. And we have to get to the point where we realize that, my business isn't performing, for example, the way that I want it to, because maybe I just didn't do something that I needed to have done. Maybe I forgot that I need to spend time doing personal development, or maybe I forgot that I'm supposed to do my personal devotions with the Lord before I do anything else. Maybe, like when it comes to my eating, maybe I had too much chips and queso at the Mexican place, and then I'm bloated the next day. Well, that's totally within my control. And these two things, the comparison and not doing what you know to be doing, these are both things that are in your control that you can absolutely get rid of your discouragement with. What I'm doing right now, guys, is baking. So I'm looking into my mirror down here, sorry. Just a lot of powder to set my foundation the way I like it. So to get rid of your discouragement, one, stop comparing yourself to others. You do you, boo. That's what one of our mascara artists says all the time. You do you, boo. And you know, the same way is in our faith walk. Thankfully, the Lord's given us some pretty obvious things of what to do and what not to do. Hey, Caitlin. So when it comes to our faith walk, we kind of know what we're supposed to do and what not to do. But the thing is, it's real easy, especially if you're a new Christian, or maybe you just don't know as much as some people. It's real easy just to get distracted and distracted by somebody else who seems to never make a mistake. Hey, Judy. You get distracted. You think that because you've made a mistake that you'll never be as good as them, and you won't amount to much and all that. But you know what? I'm doing this because I feel like sometimes that powder takes it off, so I just add a little more, just because I'm extra. But again, that's that comparison. Comparison, I believe, is straight up of the devil. Especially when we do it to ourselves. So that's the way you battle the discouragement. You make sure that you're not, first of all, recognize that that's what you're doing, that you're comparing yourself to others. But then once you realize that that's what you're doing, it's not that hard just to say, you know what, she's doing her and I'm doing me, and that's all I get. And I'm using, because I know you guys will ask, this is something I found this week. Oh gosh. Maybelline Super Stay 24 color, and it is in the color, oh gosh, Forever Chestnut. I like it because it really doesn't move, and I like the color. Sorry guys, I can't talk and put stuff on my lips at the same time. So, we've learned discouragement comes from the enemy because he wants us ineffective, and when we become discouraged, that's the best way to get us ineffective so that we're not doing what we need to do. But it also comes from us allowing things to happen, such as we allow ourselves to compare ourselves to others. And we, not only that, but we also allow ourselves to fall into the trap where we're not doing things that we know we should be doing. If you know, in your faith walk, you can say you're not doing something you know you're called to do. Or like with my health, if I'm not taking care of my body the way I need to, then you start feeling depressed. You feel guilty about that because you should be doing something you're not. And then that leads you to discouragement. It leads you to kind of a paralysis because you're already feeling bad because you weren't doing it, so you're going to stop doing it altogether. Hey, Miss Kathy. So it kind of gives you a little bit of paralysis because you're kind of stuck there in that discouragement. And then that leads to more guilt because you're still not doing what you were upset about not doing to begin with. And then that just leads to more discouragement and more guilt and more discouragement. And it just makes a vicious little cycle there. So once you recognize that, then what you do, you recognize that that's the cycle that you're in. And you just get yourself out of it. You start doing what you know to do. Like for me, and my weight and my health, I recognize that maybe I had Chinese. Yeah, you can. I recognize that I had Chinese last night. Well, I don't need to do that every night. My son just totally stole my fan, but that's okay. That's why it got suddenly quiet. But I know that me continuing to eat Chinese every night is not going to help. So what do? This morning I wake back up and I start doing what I know I need to be doing. I don't let myself live in the world of feeling guilty about what I did. I get over it and I make sure I don't do it again. And the same thing happens in your Christian walk too. You know what? There's going to be times when you miss the mark. Doesn't mean we go looking to miss the mark. But there will be times that you miss the mark, and you just deal with it. To repent means that you You apologize, of course. You ask the Lord's forgiveness, but you turn around and you make sure that you don't do that again. And you know what? If something happens and you do it, fine. Go repent again. We can't allow ourselves to get into the little trap of that guilt and discouragement and allowing that to make us think that we'll never be any better than what we are. Because again, that's how the enemy creates ineffective Christians. That's how moms especially, I feel, we put so much pressure on ourselves and so much comparison to others on ourselves that we just get to the point where we have put that much pressure. Hey Kim, we've put that much pressure on ourselves, and it's too easy to live in that discouraged place. So y'all promise with me that you're not going to let yourself do that. So what I did, I told y'all I would go use the new eyeshadows. And what I've done is I've used Lullaby here. How did I do that? I was doing it so fast I forgot. So I use Lullaby mostly on my the lid, the part of my lid that moves. And I put it in the corner and then go into my crease and put it in this corner. And then up on top is the color called Bird here. I went in with Cupcake around my... Oh, I had Pup everywhere to begin with as well. And Cupcake around my brow bone here. I'm just making that a little more obvious. And I'm also going to do it on my inner corner, because y'all know I like that lighter. And right here in the center of my eye. So Kim and Miss Kathy, I know y'all joined a little bit late, but we were talking about how it is so easy for us to get discouraged. And we know that that is actually a tool that the enemy will use. And he actually uses that within ourselves. Like, we allow ourselves to compare ourselves to each other. We allow ourselves to feel guilty because we're not doing... First of all, we don't do the things we know we should do, and then we feel guilty about it, which creates a double problem. But because we are recognizing that that's where that discouragement comes from, then we're able to do something about it. Now, this is a trick I've been doing lately. This is the Ico London waterproof liquid liner. Comes in this little brush like this, and I've been lining just the top lid, and I'm not eyelining the bottom lid. So give me just a minute to do this. I'm going to try to get a little bit better position. Hey Mitch, because I know I can't do this. I'm feeling like there's no way I can do this in my camera. So y'all give me just a minute to build this up, so y'all won't hopefully have to look at my top of my head too bad. So tell me what you guys think about the discouragement issue. I feel like it's something that every single person on this planet definitely deals with. Although I can't speak for men, but I do feel like, especially if you're a mom, there's just, I think because there's so many opportunities to compare yourself to other people. There's just so much, as a mom and as a female, there's just a lot more opportunities for discouragement. When I'm doing this liquid liner, first of all, it took me forever to even work up the nerve to do it, because I feel like I was just intimidated by it. But I have to be careful to make sure I get the color all the way down to the bottom part of my lashes there, because you don't want to have like the flesh showing. Like, you don't want to have a line of that dark line of eyeliner and then flesh and then your eyeball. It just looks weird. And the same thing if you're choosing to put liner underneath your eyes, you don't want to have it here at your lash line and then have that super white flesh or pink flesh or whatever and then your eyeballs, because it just looks like you put your liner too low when you do that. But anyway, I need to clean up my fallout. There. So yeah, discouragement was hard on my heart this morning. Not that I could allow myself to feel discouraged about certain things, because it seems like I've fought the same battle with my weight for years and years. And you could definitely get discouraged about that. But who's got time for that, right? Ain't nobody got time for that. So you just get yourself up, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, as they say. Determine that you will not fall into that cycle of paralysis and guilt and just not doing anything because you feel so guilty about not doing anything, right? Once you recognize that you're not doing anything, or not doing what you're supposed to be doing, don't stay there. Start doing what you're supposed to be doing. You know? It's just one of those things, kind of my little pet peeve, which is easy for me to say that because let me say it's easy for me to feel that way when I'm on the outside. When you're on the inside having to deal with it, and you've dealt with that discouragement and that disappointment time and time again, you do have to work a little harder to get where you want to get. But it's always going to be worth it, because I can guarantee you staying right there in that discouragement and that guilt and comparison little trap, that is not where the Lord wants you. That is not where you need to be. And I guarantee you, once you're able to get out of it, you're going to feel a lot better. You know what? The thing is, hey Nina, the thing is, once you get out of that discouragement trap, nothing really changes about your outside situation immediately, right? But you have to make the decision to get out of that discouragement trap and to do what you know to do to get out of that discouragement trap, so that you can see the changes that you've been looking for. It's just one of those things, guys. I get a little passionate about it. But one of the hardest things I feel like it is for women especially, but any family member, like, say, if you've been praying for somebody for a long, long time, and hey, Miss Martha, and you feel like sometimes you just feel like your prayers aren't being heard, you know? And it's easy to become discouraged because you feel like your prayers are hitting the ceiling. You feel like you're wasting your time, that nothing's going to change them, or they won't change. Well, for one thing, if you're trying to change somebody, you may need to think about what you're praying for, because you can't do that. But you can pray that the Lord will change them. But when it comes to relationships, my husband and I always tell people who ask, whenever you're having problems with a relationship and you think that person needs to change, don't pray for them to change. Pray for you to change, because the fact that you are so centered on they need to change this and they need to do this differently and all that, a lot of time, you know what, that'll work out. But if you'll change the way if you pray that the Lord will help you change the way that you look at them, change the way that you serve them, then a lot of times all that stuff that you're praying about over there that you feel like they need to change, that's going to happen. But it's not because of anything you've done. God will handle them. You and God handle you. But anyway, that's a side tangent there. Let me put my mascara on, and I think my husband will finally be able to go to Lowe's. We're going to have some breakfast lunch kind of thing. And he has to go to Lowe's for some church stuff, so we're going to be doing that while we're out town. But I hope that this has encouraged y'all in some way. Everybody deals with discouragement. And I feel like the thing is, when you're feeling discouraged, I think it's totally okay to reach out to somebody and just tell them, hey, I'm feeling a little discouraged today. Can you just pray with me or whatever? But two, recognize that sometimes that place of discouragement is totally within your power to change. You know, God gives us wisdom, and God expects us to do what we know to do. So make sure that if you're having some issues with discouragement, make sure that you're not adding to them. You know, if you know that you can do something to get out of that, then get out of it. I will tell you too, especially for me personally, when I'm dealing with discouragement, one of the first things that I try to do if I'm able to, and I'm able to get off by myself, whether it be in the car or whatever, I will listen to praise and worship music. Sometimes I will blast it on the radio because I just feel like, why not, you know? I'm almost like I'm doing battle, and I'm okay with that. Another thing I like to do is just to fight the discouragement to begin with, especially, hey Deborah, especially for those of us who know that we fall into that discouragement quite a bit. I go ahead and I kind of get preemptive about it, or proactive. I'm trying not to be reactive about the discouragement. I try to be proactive and not let myself get discouraged to begin with. And that is, in order to prevent that, what I do is I listen to Bible teaching or Christian music a lot. And you know what? It helps me because I'm becoming closer to the Lord, for sure, while I'm doing that. But it also helps me kind of keep my focus and not be so me-minded, you know? It helps me to remember, wait, I'm not having to do this battle by myself, and just because I'm getting distracted or discouraged, the Lord's still here with me. I'm just playing around with my makeup now, so y'all forgive me. I'm just spending time with you. But I like to do praise and worship music and listen to Bible teaching. I like podcasts like crazy. And if you like Audible books, then get you some Audible books or Kindle books, anything. Amazon has, I think, you can do Kindle books and read it when you're not driving. I have seen somebody trying to read a book while they're driving. They had their Kindle like on their steering wheel. It drove me crazy. But that's why I like listening to Audible books, because I can listen to it and still get it in me while I'm driving and not have to be distracted by a screen or anything. So anyway, those are just a couple of things I do just to help fight the discouragement before it ever gets here. And then too, if you are like me and you own your own business, a lot of times what I'll do too is I'll kind of switch up and I'll do my faith building Audible books on one day, or podcasts on one day, and then the next day I'll do something that's more business minded, because I believe that when you stop learning, you stop living. That's just my own little mantra there. So I like to learn. I'm a nerd that way. But I just make sure that I have as much positivity going in me as I can, because that's how I fight that discouragement and that depression to begin with. So anyway, if you guys have any tips that you use to fight that discouragement or depression or anxiety that usually will happen to us women as we start to compare ourselves to others, then put them down below. Make sure you share this. Hopefully it's helped somebody today, and I pray that the Lord can use this to help somebody with their discouragement. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.